Hi, boys and girls. This is Mrs. P, and we are back with Stef Soto, Taco Queen, and it's fiction by Jennifer Torres. We are on chapter 3. I can remember the day Poppy brought Tia Perla home, and I parked her in the driveway on an early Saturday morning. Mommy had been pacing the living room. She wore her green silk dress and black heels as though she were on her way to a party or to meet someone important. I sat on the couch in the inchy gray skirt I usually save for church, and when she heard Poppy honk the horn, she squealed, tucked a stray curl behind my ear, and grabbed both my wrists. "They're here!" I yelped. "Aquí están," she echoed. The two of us ran outside together. Mommy cleared all 3 front porch steps in one eager hop, then stopped short on the lawn and wrinkled her nose. After listening to Poppy gush about the truck, the flat-top grill, the four-burner stove, the stainless steel walls and brand new tires, we were expecting a beauty, a champion, a purebred. This truck looked more like scruffy shelter rescue, in need of a warm bath and a loving home. The tires were brand new, but everything else seemed dented or dusty. Still, Poppy stood smiling in front of the truck, his chest puffed out proudly, his hands planted on his hips. Mommy and I looked at each other, and then we smiled too. I'm sorry, I keep bumping this thing that's holding my camera up. Until that Saturday morning, Poppy had worked as a house painter for a big construction company. He had to leave the house early, sometimes before the streetlights had even flickered out, and he always came home with aching shoulders. At night, after he and Mommy had sent me to bed, I would hear them whispering at the kitchen table. But if I could start something of my own. After a while, those kitchen table whispers grew into a roar of plans and daydreams. Standing over the stove, refrying beans, Poppy would suddenly burst. "When I open my restaurant, I'll serve all kinds of beans, not just refrijitos, but black beans and frijoles de la olla, too." His mother, my abuelita, had taught him to cook when he was my age. She didn't know where he might travel someday, she told him, but wherever he went, he would have her recipes to bring him back home. Now, nothing made Poppy happier than sharing that warm at-home feeling with others. Mommy would spoon Poppy's homemade salsa onto her breakfast eggs, take a bite, and then with her mouth still half full, exclaim, "Mi amor, at your restaurant you must make your own salsa. Promise me, nothing from a jar." And one sunny afternoon, when I poked around the refrigerator looking for something cool to drink, I asked, "Poppy, can there be strawberry soda at your restaurant?" And he swept me off the floor and lifted me over his head. "Orale," he shouted. "Strawberry soda, orange soda, grape soda." I giggled, my braids dangling over Poppy's nose. "Lime soda, mango soda, cherry soda." Mommy shook her head at us and poured me a glass of ice water. And that's when we started saving. When the daydreams became so real we could taste them, as sweet and fizzy as strawberry soda. Scrimping was harder than I thought it would be, but also a little like a game, with all of us pitching in to pinch pennies. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, we ate plain beans wrapped in corn tortillas, so many that I still can't stand them. Mommy stitched patches over the rips in my jeans instead of buying new ones, and she also took in sewing projects from the dry cleaners around the corner, gathering needle and thread after dinner and settling down to repair a seam or fasten a button. I thought I could make some extra money too, maybe walking dogs or pulling weeds. Mommy and Poppy said no to that. Instead, they put me in charge of making sure we never left the lights on in an empty room, and agreed to let me chip in nickels and pennies I had stashed in my piggy bank. I poured a silvery stream of coins onto the coffee table, and as the 3 of us sorted them into cardboard rolls from the bank, Poppy put his hand over mine and said, "Gracias." We worked and saved for a little more than a year, until one day, when she was reading the newspaper, Mommy stopped and said, She waved Poppy and me over and pointed to a small ad in the corner of a page. "Food truck for sale, used, good condition." Poppy and I agreed. It wasn't a restaurant, but it would be ours, and we had saved just enough. It wouldn't hurt just to look, he said. 2 weeks later, the truck was in our driveway. The previous owner had called it La Perla del Mar, the Pearl of the Sea. The name was painted in loopy blue letters across one side of the truck, and it was the only thing that Poppy thought really needed fixing. La Perla del Mar sounded like seafood, he thought, and that wasn't the food that brought him back home. We sat on the lawn, Mommy spreading Poppy's jacket out between the grass and her green dress, and tried to come up with a new name. Senor Salsa, Mommy proposed. I groaned. Holy frijoles, Poppy suggested. I threw a clump of dried grass at him. He ducked and laughed. And then it came to me. Tia Perla. My parents looked at each other, not sure whether we were still joking. No, really, I said, standing up and dusting off my skirt. Listen, it was a name that sounded like home, I told them. Like food cooked from scratch by your favorite aunt. Plus, we won't have to repaint the whole thing. Mommy tilted her head right to left, my idea rolling around in her mind like a marble. Tia Perla, she said. Poppy nodded, slowly at first and then feverishly. Orderly, he growled, hugging Mommy and me tight. Orderly. We congratulated ourselves for a few happy minutes, and then Poppy slapped his palm to his forehead. Oh, almost forgot. He climbed back inside the truck and returned with 3 bottles of strawberry soda. Tia Perla was home and officially part of the family. Over the next few weekends, we painted over the seascape that had been airbrushed onto the truck's side, replacing it with bunches of red and white roses. We covered up most of the old lettering, too, everything but Perla, and Poppy had lifted me onto the stepladder and handed me a paintbrush. In careful blue strokes, I wrote Tia. 5 years later, our paint job is faded and chipped, and palm trees from the old seascape are peeking through in places. It needs touching up, I think, as I sketch in the margins of my social study notes. But who's going to do it? I certainly don't want to spend any more time with Tia Perla than I absolutely have to. Okay, next week, Chapter 4.